Nama saya James dan hari ini saya akan menceritakan tentang genosida Guatemala. Genosida Guatemala adalah kejadian saat para militer dari Guatemala mulai membantai dan membunuh banyak sekali orang Maya. Ini sangat tidak baik karena orang Maya adalah mayoritas dari Guatemala. Selain pembunuhan massal, mereka juga melakukan hal-hal lain yang sangat kejam seperti penyiksaan, penghilangan terpaksa, dan juga ringkasan eksekusi mati tentara gerilya. Kekerasan ini dilakukan oleh tentara yang bersenjata kepada orang-orang yang jelas-jelas tidak memiliki senjata untuk melindungi diri sendiri. Para tentara melakukan ini karena mereka menganggap rendah orang Maya. Ini sebenarnya kasus yang cukup besar, tetapi tidak banyak orang mengetahui tentang ini karena mereka menutupi jejak mereka dengan baik. Ini adalah seorang profesional yang akan menceritakan hal lain tentang kekejaman ini.
Guatemala in the late 70s and early 80s, the country had been under a dictatorship for more than 20 years, since 1954 when the United States backed a military coup of a democratically elected government. In 1978, the government began a concerted effort of attacking indigenous villages, and the indigenous people of Guatemala, the Maya, they make up more than 50% of the population. In fact, it's the only country in the Americas with a majority indigenous population. And in 1978, a series of massacres began that ultimately by 1982 was a genocide. 626 villages were destroyed. The 200,000 who were killed, 150,000 of those are estimates from the Truth Commission report. The 150,000 are mostly indigenous people, and the 50,000 disappeared or assassinated are Latinos and indigenous. Firstly, in Guatemala, you have a long history of exclusion, majority indigenous population that's been subjugated. Guatemala in the late 19th, early 20th, and in fact up through the late 20th century looked an awful lot like South Africa under apartheid. You have to contextualize it looking at Central America in the late 70s and early 80s, and Latin America as a whole, a time of upheaval, a time of revolution, a time of protest. And so the generals in Guatemala looked around and they decided that, in the words of General Efrain Rios Montt, who came to power through military coup and was supported by President Reagan, in his words, we'll take the water away from the fish being the guerrilla, the water being the indigenous people. And we know from declassified CIA documents that, in fact, the U.S. government was aware that people were being killed who were civilians. So I started working with the Guatemalan Forensic Anthropology Foundation doing exhumations of clandestine cemeteries. And we worked in the community of Plan de Sanchez, which is an Achi Maya community. It's a small village that suffered a massacre in 1982 during the regime of Efrain Rios Montt, and the army killed 168 men, women, and children, mostly women and children. And that case eventually went to the Inter-American Court. And the court ruled against the government of Guatemala, and in fact, that case is the first time in the history of the Inter-American Court that it ruled that a member state had committed genocide. After the peace accords were signed, one of the accords was for the establishment of a Truth Commission, which was the Commission for Historical Clarification, and that commission had the Guatemalan Forensic Anthropology Foundation conduct 4 exhumations, and I worked with the forensic team doing those exhumations, and my role was to do historical reconstruction. I'm a cultural anthropologist, and so I take testimonies and oral histories and work in archives and do interviews with people who might have information about what happened so that I can construct a story of what happened before, during, and after the massacres. But the massacre is what opens up a wave of violence that seems endless, because the people who survive the massacres can't stay, and so they flee. They flee up into the mountains. What do you go to the mountains with? What do you have on you right now? go. Imagine yourself living in flight from an army that's trying to hunt you down for 2 to 4 years, because those are the conditions that people lived in up in the mountains after the massacres all over Guatemala. The survivors then have to go on and be hunted by the army. And the army had these terms like hunting the deer. In fact, the Guatemalan army up till 1990 was still bombing people in the mountains of Guatemala. There has not been substantial punishment, and it does cry out for justice. And people who survive continue to cry out for justice, and people throughout the world continue to support people in Guatemala seeking justice.
Ini adalah seorang tentara yang dihukum 6.060 tahun untuk kekejaman yang ia lakukan, tetapi walaupun dia dihukum, dia tidak terlalu peduli.
I wanted to go to one last clip, and this was of a soldier. After the 4 soldiers were sentenced Tuesday, one of the convicted officers said he felt no regret for what he had done.
No me arrepiento, porque por la
I don't regret anything, because due to the noble institution I belong to, and continue to belong to, because it's in my veins. Guatemalan Army, I don't mind taking the blame for you. I don't care, because I know there will always be a soldier at the 4 cardinal points looking after Guatemalans, as I did myself. All my colleagues who have died during the war, who were there to defend Guatemala, so that Guatemala is what it is now. I think if this is the payment I need to make, I accept it kindly.
He is making an important point here, Annie Bird. He says he was part of the Guatemalan Army, and he did it for that. In fact, that is true. Isn't that right?
That is exactly true. And he also made another good point in that he played an important role and the Guatemalan Army played an important role in making Guatemala what it is today. And Guatemala has one of the highest murder rates in the world. The levels of violence have increased. There are higher levels of violence of killing than during many of the years of the armed conflict. And that's, because of organized crime, drug trafficking, the war against drug. And the fact of the matter is that many of the military networks during the war were involved in organized crime activities as death squads, as involved in drug trafficking and car thieving networks and whatnot. And those networks continued to operate today in Guatemala, and they place people within the justice system. These networks control courts, control sections of the Attorney General's office, and so people in Guatemala have been in a really difficult struggle over, over 20 years to try to bring the Guatemalan justice system to a point where it can undertake these trials, because the networks of organized crime that have influence within the justice system use that influence to illegally block justice. And so last year, for example, there was an Attorney General named with strong ties to organized crime, and after 6 months of really important struggle, they finally had a very good Attorney General named who's moved on cases like these. And those are important advances and are necessary not just for trying crimes of the past, but for ending the violence that today Guatemalans suffer.
I want to thank you both for being with us. Annie Bird, co-director of Rights Action, and Ramon Cadena joining us from Guatemala City in Guatemala, the ad hoc judge who heard the Las Doceras massacre case for the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. When we come back...
Ini adalah seorang korban yang menceritakan kekejaman yang telah terjadi kepadanya.
As a child, Jesus Tecu experienced horrors most people will never see in a lifetime.
It was exactly like the other times that my father would return. The dogs ran out to greet him. They did the same that day. But that day, my father didn't return.
Falso, digo yo, porque ya no llegó mi papá.
Teku is one of many survivors who are speaking about the Guatemalan genocide. In a partnership between University of Southern California Shoah Foundation and the Forensic Anthropology Foundation of Guatemala, eyewitness accounts are being recorded in the first academic oral history project documenting what survivors saw and experienced.
The militaries came in, separated the villages in groups, and made one group kill the other. Their children, they have to witness everything. Many of the survivors we have interviewed were kids at that time, and they describe also the entire pain of seeing their families, their mothers raped or their sisters killed.
Some 200,000 civilians, mostly indigenous Mayans, were killed during the 36-year civil war, with the peak of the Guatemalan genocide taking place in the early 1980s, says Sandra Grenier-Domick, consultant for the USC Shoah Foundation. She says the massacres were carried out in the name of Cold War fears.
After Second World War, the fear of spreading communism in Central America was huge.
The Shoah Foundation says it is one of the least publicly understood genocides in modern history, and collecting video testimonies will not only preserve the memories of the survivors, but help researchers better understand what happened and why. So far, 30 audiovisual testimonies have been collected in Guatemala, and with enough funding, the hope is to get 100 testimonies by the end of the year. These testimonies will add to the Shoah Foundation's Visual History Archive. The collection includes some 53,000 testimonies of genocide survivors that span the globe.
Where are the similarities between different genocides? What is where we can see the first red flags?
The aim is to find answers to these questions and to keep the memories of the survivors alive to prevent future genocides. Elizabeth Lee for VOA News, Los Angeles.
Terima kasih telah mendengarkan dokumentari itu.